Good morning, students. I am Ms. Rabia Raza. Today we are doing comprehension and our topic is the cleanup team. Objective is to enhance communicating and writing skill. Okay, now I am going to read a passage for you. Listen it carefully and you have to attempt the questions from this passage. Now, the topic is the cleanup team. Mrs. Gill lived next door to Nita. Every afternoon, Mrs. Gill took a walk. She said it kept her young. Nita liked to peek out when Mrs. Gill came back. Mrs. Gill was always happy after her walk. She often showed Nita something she had found, like a bright red leaf. One afternoon, Mrs. Gill looked sad. Nita asked her, "What was wrong?" Mrs. Gill held up a can and sad about all the trash on the street. She said, "I have never seen so much trash in this neighborhood. What has happened?" "Mr. Trent moved," said Nita. "He used to go out each morning." Okay. He used to go out each morning and pick up trash. I often saw him on my way to school. Mrs. Gill looked surprised. "I thought I knew everything about this neighborhood," she said, "but you see more than I do. I wish I could do Mr. Trent's job, but my back is stiff. It's hard for me to bend over and pick things up." "I could do that," said Nita. Mrs. Gill smiled. "I will carry the trash bag. You can use my gardening gloves so your hands stay clean." Nita put on the gloves. She picked up pieces of paper. She picked up cans. Lots of people stopped to thank Mrs. Gill and Nita. The street looked much better when Nita and Mrs. Gill were done. "Thanks, Nita," said Mrs. Gill. "Let's call ourselves the cleanup team." Okay, this is the whole passage. And what was happened in this passage? There are two main characters, Mrs. Gill and Nita. Mrs. Gill was worried about trash on the street. Nita told her that Mr. Trent cleaned all the street and now he was gone. Mrs. Gill wished to do it by herself, but her back was stiff. So Nita took initiative and cleaned the street. Mrs. Gill offered her gardening gloves just to keep her hands clean. Okay, this is all about the passage. Answer the following question. Okay, see the first question. Why did Mrs. Gill take a walk every day? There are 4 options and you have to choose the correct one. She wanted to pick up litter. She wanted to talk to Mr. Trent. She wanted to feel young. She wanted to start a club. Okay, second question. Why was Mrs. Gill sad one day? There are again 4 options and you have to choose the correct one. She lost a red leaf. The streets were full of trash. She lost her gloves. Nita was bothering her. Okay, question number 3. Why did the neighborhood have so much trash? What happened to the neighborhood? Why there was so much trash there? Who has cleaned the trash and who has gone? Write the complete answer. Please write complete answer. Don't write one word answer. Why did Nita pick up the trash instead of Mrs. Gill? Okay, now Anita is going to pick up the trash. What happened to Mrs. Gill back? Why didn't she pick it by herself? Question number 5. Why did Nita's hands stay clean? Which thing Mrs. Gill offered her? You have to write about it. Okay, please, I'm telling you again, you have to write the complete answer. Please do not write one word answer. Use the correct form of verb. If it's a past tense, if the question is in the past tense, then you have to use the past tense. If the question is in the present tense, you have to use the present tense in it. Okay, ji. Question number 6. Find out 5 adjectives from the passage. Then find out 5 prepositions from the passage. And find out 5 past verbs from the passage. It's a very easy passage. You can do it easily. Read it carefully and attempt all the questions. Allah Hafiz.